Everything changed when I found out who my wife was calling every night. I used to think betrayal arrived with obvious signs. Lipstick on a collar, a secret hotel receipt, a message left open by mistake. What happened to me was quieter than that. It began with a sound I heard almost every night at exactly 11:17 p.m. The soft vibration of my wife's phone. For months, Emma would wait until she thought I was asleep. Then she would slip out of bed, walk into the kitchen, and stay there for 20 or 30 minutes. When I asked who it was, she always gave the same answer. Just Claire. She's going through a hard time. Claire was her oldest friend, so I believed her. That was the worst part. I trusted her completely. We had been married for 9 years. Not a perfect marriage, but a stable one. We knew each other's coffee orders, each other's bad habits, each other's silences. We had a 7-year-old son named Noah, a mortgage that felt too large, and the kind of life that looked ordinary from the outside. I never expected anything dramatic to happen to us. Then one Thursday evening, Emma forgot her phone on the kitchen counter when she went upstairs to help Noah with homework. The screen lit up. I miss hearing your voice. No name. Just a number. I stared at it for a long time. My first instinct was to pretend I hadn't seen it. My second was to unlock the phone. I knew her passcode. After 9 years together, there were no secrets. At least that's what I thought. When I opened the message thread, my stomach dropped. Hundreds of messages. They weren't explicit. That almost made them worse. Today was unbearable until you called. I wish things were different. I keep replaying our conversation. You're the only person who really understands me. My hands were shaking. I scrolled upward, searching for a name, any clue about who this person was. Then I saw it. Daniel. My younger brother. I actually laughed when I read it. Not because it was funny, but because my brain refused to accept it. Daniel was 34, divorced, charming in the effortless way I had never been. He came to our house for Sunday dinners. He played soccer with Noah in the backyard. Emma bought him birthday gifts every year. The idea that the two of them were sharing these kinds of conversations felt impossible. I kept reading. I hate pretending nothing's happening between us. I know. Me too. One day we'll have to decide what this is. I heard footsteps upstairs and locked the phone just before Emma returned. She smiled at me. Noah finally finished his math homework. And I smiled back. That was the moment everything changed. For the next 2 weeks, I said nothing. I watched. Once you suspect something, every ordinary moment starts looking suspicious. Emma laughing at a text message. Daniel arriving 10 minutes earlier than usual. The way they avoided looking at each other for too long during dinner, as if they had rehearsed it. I became someone I barely recognized. I checked phone records. I memorized timestamps. I stayed awake at night listening for that vibration at 11:17. One evening, I followed Emma. She told me she was meeting Claire for coffee after work. Instead, she drove to a small park on the other side of town. Daniel was already there. I sat across the street in my car and watched them talk. They didn't kiss. They didn't touch much. But they looked at each other with the kind of attention that belongs to people who have already crossed a line. That hurt more than if I'd seen something physical. When Emma came home that night, she kissed my cheek and asked how my day had been. Fine, I said. The lie tasted like metal. I kept asking myself how long it had been going on. The answer arrived by accident. Daniel came over one Saturday to help me fix a leaking gutter. We were standing on the ladder when his phone rang. He glanced at the screen and declined the call immediately. I saw the name before the screen went dark. Emma. He noticed that I noticed. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then he said too quickly, "She was asking about Noah's school project earlier." I nodded. Of course. That night, I checked the message thread again while Emma was in the shower. I scrolled all the way to the beginning. The first messages were from 14 months earlier. 14 months. While I was sitting beside her on the couch, planning vacations, paying bills, celebrating anniversaries, she had been building another relationship with my brother. And the worst part? It had started innocently. I could see it in the messages. Daniel had been struggling after his divorce. Emma had listened. They had talked about loneliness, disappointment, and feeling invisible. Somewhere along the way, those conversations became something neither of them intended. Or maybe they did intend it. I still don't know. I confronted her 3 days later. No shouting. No dramatic scene. Noah was asleep upstairs. Emma was folding laundry in the living room when I sat down across from her. I know about Daniel. The towel slipped from her hands. She didn't ask what I meant. She just closed her eyes. How much do you know? That question answered everything. Enough. She started crying immediately, the kind of crying that seems to come from somewhere deeper than tears. I never meant for this to happen. I remember laughing again, the same hollow laugh I'd made when I first saw the messages. People always say that. She told me they had never slept together. At that moment, I honestly didn't know whether to believe her. What I did believe was that she had fallen in love with someone else. And not just someone else. My brother. I asked the question that had been burning in my head for weeks. Do you love him? Emma looked down at her hands. That silence was the longest moment of my life. Finally she whispered, I don't know. That hurt more than if she had said yes. I left the house and drove around for hours. Around midnight, Daniel called me. I almost didn't answer. She told me you know, he said. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. Tell me I'm wrong. He was quiet for several seconds. You're not wrong. There it was. No excuses. No denial. He told me he had tried to end it multiple times. He said they had become emotionally dependent on each other after his divorce. He said he hated himself for it. I listened without speaking. Then he said something I still hear in my head. I didn't plan to fall in love with her. I hung up. For the next month, our house became a strange kind of battlefield. Emma and I were polite for Noah's sake. We made breakfast, helped with homework, attended a school concert, and slept on opposite sides of the bed like strangers sharing a hotel room. Meanwhile, Daniel stopped coming around entirely. My parents noticed first. Is everything okay between you two? My mother asked. I said we were busy. I couldn't bring myself to tell them the truth. Not yet. One evening Emma sat beside me on the porch after Noah had gone to bed. I ended it, she said. I stared at the streetlights. Did you? She nodded. I blocked his number. I told him we can't speak anymore. Part of me wanted to feel relieved. Instead, I felt tired. Why? I asked. Her answer came quietly. Because I looked at Noah this morning and realized I was about to destroy his family. That should have sounded noble. Instead, it sounded late. Then came the twist I never saw coming. 2 days later, Daniel showed up at my office. He looked exhausted, thinner than I'd ever seen him. I'm leaving, he said. Leaving where? Seattle. I got offered a job there. I said nothing. He sat across from me and rubbed his face. I need you to know something before I go. I waited. Emma didn't start this. I did. I wanted to hate him. God, I wanted that so badly. But the truth is more complicated than hatred. He told me that after his divorce, he had spent countless evenings at our house because he couldn't stand being alone. Emma had listened when he talked about failing as a husband. She had defended me when he complained that I worked too much. Somewhere in those conversations, he began seeing her differently. Then he admitted the thing I never expected. The night Dad was in the hospital, she called me because she was scared and couldn't reach you. We talked for 3 hours. That was the first time I realized I was waiting for her messages. I remembered that night. My phone had died during a business trip. I had apologized for being unreachable. I had no idea that a 3-hour conversation was changing the course of all our lives. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," Daniel said. "I just couldn't leave without telling you the truth." He stood up, hesitated, then added, "You were always the better brother. I just forgot that for a while." That was the last time I saw him in person. He moved to Seattle the following week. My parents eventually learned everything. My mother cried for days. My father stopped speaking to Daniel for nearly a year. Family dinners became smaller and quieter. As for Emma and me, people always want a simple ending. They want to know whether we divorced or stayed together. The truth is that we did both, in a way. We stayed in the same house for Noah. We went to counseling. We learned how to have honest conversations again. But the marriage we had before died the moment I opened that message thread. You can rebuild a house after a fire. What you can't do is pretend the original house never burned. Sometimes Emma catches me looking at her and asks what I'm thinking. I never tell her the full answer. Because the full answer is that I still remember the sound of her phone vibrating at 11:17 p.m. I still remember sitting in my car across from that park, watching two people I loved choose each other in a way they never should have. And I still remember the strangest part of all. Before I found out, I thought betrayal would feel like anger. It didn't. It felt like grief. Like mourning someone who was still sitting across the breakfast table. Emma asks me sometimes whether I think we'll ever be completely okay again. I usually tell her, I don't know. Because that's the only honest answer I have left. And maybe that's the real secret people never talk about. Affairs don't always end with slammed doors and dramatic goodbyes. Sometimes they end with two exhausted people standing in the kitchen, trying to decide whether the life they built is worth carrying forward even after the truth has changed everything. I still haven't decided. Maybe I never will. But every night, when the house gets quiet, I notice the clock. And when it reaches 11:17, I always look up. Even now.